Good morning, everyone. We'll talk today about matrix algebra. As you know, array can contain numbers, could contain like numeric information, but they can also contain character data, symbolic data, and so on. Um, so, um, so we'll talk a little bit about the matrix operations and functions. We'll talk about matrix operations and functions. All right. All right. So we could create a matrix, like for example, let's call it A equals, let's say, a one, two, three. This is array or matrix. Um, and if we run it like this, for example, it's array or matrix. Array because it has only one row. All right. But also we could say it has one row and three columns. One row and three columns. We can also have the transpose, and very simple. The transpose, you put the name of the matrix and like this, and if you run it as you see in here, this is the transpose. So now it has three rows and has one column. All right. Just to make things easier, let's do the CLC. I'm sorry, CLC and a clear here. I don't want to keep saying all the results, right? You could have also like a range. You could have a range. So, for example, you could change A to B. A to B equals -1. All right, and the step is -1 and up to -3. So we'll go from -1, then -2, then -3. All right, let's run it in here. As you see in here, -1, step -1 becomes -2, step -1 becomes -3. All right. You could apply a whole function for the whole array. So if we could say, for example, let's comment this. Use the original one. Comment this. All right. You could say, for example, function. So for example, you could say y equals and square root for for um, you know um, um, for a, for example. All right. Let's name this x, just to mix things. Okay. So so now when I applied the function square root, it was applied for every element of the array and gave you. So the square root of 1, it's 1. The square root of 2 is 1.4142. The square root of 3 is 1.7 .7321, and so forth. Also, for example, I could use the square root, for example, for the x. Okay, so we have the x in here, this in here, and if I do the x, okay, and let's see the difference. What will happen? Remember, these are negative numbers, and when you try to get the square root for a negative number, it will give you um, it will give you a complex number, and it will print the conjugate only. Let's try it. So let's try this one in here. So this is the x, -1, -2, -3. And when you do the square root, it gives you the complex number. If you don't know that, that the square root for a negative number it's usually a complex number. And complex number has two components, real part and complex part. Real part and the conjugate part. Real part and the conjugate part. Alright? The funny thing, if I try to say y transpose, so what will get me? It will get me the conjugate for it. The conjugate for it, the complex conjugate of the y. Okay. Anyways, so that's the the first thing, the transpose. So in here we have learned about the transpose. So this about like the, here we could call it the transpose. So transpose function for matrices.